So we are in chapter 11.3 trigonometric functions of general angles. As we saw before, that how to find the trigonometric function using the coordinate. We said the first step, we explained it deeply before, I don't want to repeat it again, only I just to let you remember the rules. So we found R, which is the module, it's equal radical of x squared plus y squared. This is length. So then I do sine theta is y over r, cosine theta x over r, tangent theta y over x. As we said, we divide sine over cosine to get tangent. And the same for cosec and sec and cotangent. Cosec is 1 over sine, sec 1 over cosine, and cotangent 1 of tangent over tangent. Okay, now anyway, I want to talk about other topics, but I want to use this point. First, I would like to start my session by talk about one small thing you know it from before, about the quadrant and how I divide a quadrant in for repair axis and y. As we know before, the quadrant are divided in four. Okay. Here we have the axis of y and the axis of x. Okay, this one we name it quadrant number 1. By order we start naming. We name this one quadrant number 1, this one quadrant number 2, this one's a quadrant number 3, and this last one quadrant number 4. Okay, why I am talking about this point, only I want to know from this point that in quadrant number 1 the x all are positive, so the x is positive because the value in this quadrant, all the value of x is positive and all the value of y is positive. Okay, let's talk about quadrant number 2. The value of x is negative and the same, and the value of y is like the same of quadrant number 1, they are positive. Regarding quadrant number 3, the value of x, it's negative also, as we see from the repair, and the value of y is negative also here. And regarding the last quadrant, quadrant number 4, the value of x is positive, and the value of y are negative. I think all of you know this point. Okay, now I am talking about this point to discuss with you one thing. What we said before. We said, guys, that sine theta is equal y over r. Okay? Cosine theta x over r, etc. So as we said before, the main important sine and cosine, because all the other formula you can find it depending on sine and the cosine. Anyway, my point here is that r is radical of x squared plus y squared, so it's always positive. So the sine of sine theta and the sine of cosine theta depend on y. Because if y is positive and we have r is always positive, so the result is positive. And the same, if y is negative and the r is always positive, so the result, the sine of sine theta is negative. So everything is depending on the numerator because the denominator is always positive. So sine theta depend on the sine of sine theta depend on the sine of y, and the sine of cosine theta depend on the sine of x, same principle, correct? Because r is positive always. So the same will be for tangent, or sequence, sec, and cotangent. Here in tangent, y over x. So everything depends of the sine of the x and y. Okay, so how I know the sine of x and y is depend on that point. For example, in this one we have pxy, it's in the third quadrant, so the x is negative, y positive, so the tangent should be, what's the sine of the tangent? What we said, y negative and x negative, so the sign will be negative over negative is positive. This is an example for this figure. Okay, and now anyway, it's not this our point, only I want to know from you to know that. So cosine sine, tangent, secant, cosecant, and cotangent, or depend, so as we said before, the sine of cos of x and of y. So whatever the sine of x and of y, in fact the sine of this trigonometric function, this sixth trigonometric function. Okay, our main goals for today is how to evaluate trigonometric function. How I can evaluate a trigonometric function? Let's go for this example below. Find the exact value of each trigonometric function. Let's check at this example and you will understand what I am talking about from this example. First, as we talked before, that we know what's the meaning of reference angle. So what is reference angle, guys? So if we have the angle, the main angle, we measure it with the clockwise, theta we have it's equal to 140 degree or radians, depend what is the given. Okay, the reference angle, as we said before, is the shortest distance with the axis of x. So I put a perpendicular, this should be the reference angle. We name it theta prime. Okay, as we said before, this total angle is 240. So from this point, let's name it A, to this point B, and let's name this point C, let's say. So from the point A to the point B, we reach 180 degree. Then from the point B to the point C, we reach 240 the total, minus 180 degree, which is 60 degree. Okay, guys? So this is the reference angle. Now we want to use the reference angle to find the value of trigonometric function of a bigger angle. So let's say in this example cosine 240. So I want to use the reference angle theta prime, which is 60 degree, to find the cosine of the main angle, which is 240 degree. How? Let's think about it. Okay guys, I will tell you one small tips. Let's divide our work here in two steps. Okay, I want to reduce it for you. Step 1 should be about. What should be the step 1? Step 1, what we are searching here? Cosine 240? Okay, we are searching for cosine 240. Doesn't matter, it's easy. How I can find it? Step 1, let's find, we are talking about cosine, so let's find the cosine, but of the reference angle, because this number is reduced less from the main angle. So let's start by finding the cosine of the reference angle, cosine 60. Okay, what is the cosine of 60 degree? Everyone should know it. It's 1 over 2. Okay? But now there is one point. Cosine 60 degree is 1 over 2. This is the step 1. But let's think more about the step 2. What do you think in the step 2 we should talk? What is the relation between cosine 60, the 1 over 2, and the main angle? Actually, it should be the same digit, but only the sign maybe will change. I'm not saying that for sure. Sometimes it will stay the same. So how I can find the changing of sign? What will be the new sign of cosine 240 degree? So cosine and 240 degree will be the same numbers, but only the sign maybe will change. Here's the sign, I don't know it. How I can know it? This is our easy point. As we said in this point below, we check which quadrant, what I have sign, and from this point I can know what should be the new sign. So let's check here. 240, this angle take me to quadrant number 3. I'm right? Yes. To quadrant number 3. Okay, what we said before, guys. Cosine is equal to x over r. I'm right? Cosine usually we say it is equal to x over r. Cosine of theta for sure. So, and R we said we don't care about it. I'm talking about sine. So all the sine, we think about it, depend of the sine of x. So, here I have 240 degree is based in quadrant number 3. What is the sine of cosine 240 degree? So actually I'm talking about what is the sine. So what is the sine of the x of this angle? Where is it? In the negative. Okay, because quadrant number 3, as we said before, the x all are negative and the y are negative. Here I am talking about cosine, so I don't care about y. My only job is x. So I check the sign of x. X is negative, so I put here negative. Okay, let's continue. If I am talking about find tangent 240 degree. I'm giving this example because this example depends on two things. So as we said before, first, tangent 240 degree is equal to sine 240 over cosine of 240. Okay, let's do the same job that we did it before. We divide it into steps. Step 1, let's talk about step 1. First, we say that tangent 240 is the same like I am doing the tangent of 60, but there is a sign missing. Okay, tangent of 60 is equal to radical of 3. So, let's go to step 2. So, in step 2, tangent 240 degree is equal to radical 3, that one I got it from tangent 60, and plus there is a sign missing in the beginning. Now, let's talk again how I can find this sign. I will go again to my graph. I'm talking about angle 240 degree. Let's check in the graph below. 240 degree, as we said before, it's based on the quadrant number 3. So the x is negative and the y is negative. And as we know from before that the tangent is depending about y and x. Okay, it's only depend about y and x. Okay, so here the y is negative and the x is negative, so like I'm talking about minus over minus, which is plus. So tangent 240 should be positive as sign, so plus. So tangent 240 is equal radical 3, which is actually the same as tangent 60. Hope you enjoy the session and you learn it properly. All the best.